Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we are in 1 Timothy, and 1 Timothy is one of the first of the pastoral letters. The pastoral letters comprising of 1 Timothy, 2 Peter, and Titus. And these are letters written by Paul to Timothy and Titus on how they ought to instruct the church and how they should lead the church. And there's a lot of really good practical advice for the church life in these books, and so they're very helpful to us even today. But for our devotion today, we're going to focus on 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. And Paul gives Timothy some really good advice here, and this is really good advice that we can take ourselves and put to use. It says, "Discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. For bodily discipline is only of little profit, but godliness is profitable for all things, since it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come." So Paul tells Timothy to discipline himself for the purpose of godliness. Very interesting, this word for discipline. You find it in verse 7 and then also in verse 8. Discipline yourself for godliness, and then it talks about bodily discipline. And this word in the original language is a word that we get our word today of gymnasium. It means exercise. And so what Paul is telling him is he's contrasting the importance or the effects of godly exercise as opposed to bodily exercise. And he's telling Timothy to focus on exercising himself for godliness. Godliness meaning piety, holiness, duty to God, exercising himself to do duty to God, that sort of thing. And he says that that's better than bodily exercise. Now, he does say it's only of little profit, but bodily exercise does have some profit to it. It's very beneficial to us. It helps us feel better. It helps us to be able to deal with life better when we exercise. And I would say it even helps us in our spiritual life. When you feel good, when you have energy, it's a whole lot easier to take hold of the spiritual disciplines and to use them effectively. When you're not taking care of yourself, when you're not eating right, you're not exercising, and you feel just sluggish, it's a lot more difficult to engage in the spiritual disciplines. So we don't want to negate the importance of bodily exercise. It is extremely important. But what Paul is doing is he's doing a comparison between bodily exercise and exercising oneself to godliness. And in comparison to exercising yourself to godliness, bodily exercise profits little. And so the instruction, of course, was that Timothy would do this. And we need to do that as well. We need to focus upon exercising ourselves to doing our duty to God, engaging in the spiritual disciplines. You know, people spend a lot of money. If you want to make a lot of money, go out and market something in connection to exercise. People, especially in the United States, are very conscientious of their weight, and they want to exercise. They're very focused in that direction. And whether they stick to it or not, they buy exercise equipment, they buy exercise videos. We have a lot of interest in our society in exercise. But what if we gave the same amount of focus upon exercising ourselves to godliness? Saying, how can I increase in my devotion to God? What are some things that I can put into place that will help me to draw closer to Him and to be more in the likeness of His image? And there's a lot of things actually that we can do to do that. We can exercise our faith. Last year we did a devotion on how to make your faith grow. And it was all about making your faith to be enlarged, to enlarge even more. There's things that we can do to enlarge our faith. We can, of course, read God's Word. We can focus upon the greatness of God. We can also put ourselves in situations where we have to step out in faith and exercise a little bit of faith here, a little bit more faith there, until our faith grows and strengthens, kind of like strengthening a muscle. We can also engage in prayer. Increase the amount of time that you pray day to day. Don't just say, well, I pray my 5 minutes in the morning and my 5 minutes at night and that's it. Well, increase that. Say, you know what? Well, I'll say I'll spend my lunch break praying. And then once you get in the habit of doing that, say, okay, now I'm going to spend my morning and afternoon break praying. And pretty soon get to the point to where you're always praying, praying to God at all times. These are ways that we can increase, we can exercise, we can get stronger in our faith and our spiritual life. Worshiping God, worshiping Him regularly, not just on Sunday. Absolutely do that, but at the same time having personal time of worship to God, to where you just stand in awe of Him and sit in awe of Him and think about His greatness and speak words of worship to Him, and maybe even sing some songs to God of worship. Also, of course, reading God's Word is a way that we exercise ourselves to godliness. Learning God's Word, not just reading it and then putting it aside and forgetting about it, but reading it, meditating on it, studying it, getting it not only in our minds but deep into our hearts, and then letting it come out into the way that we live. That's something that we can do. So there's a long list of things that we can do to exercise godliness, but the important thing is that we do something. Take care of your spirit as much as you would like to take care of your body. And your spirit is so much more important to take care of than even your body. Because, what you do spiritually, of course, has effects not only in this life, but in the life to come, as he says in the verses we just read. So let's do that today. If you've been kind of slacking a little bit in your spiritual disciplines, get back on track today. Make it a point today to say, look, from now on, I'm going to do things that strengthen my spirit. I'm going to get on the spiritual treadmill, and I'm going to exercise myself to godliness so that I can live a life closer to God and reflecting His image better than I have in the past. Well, these are some things to think about, even some things to do. I do thank you guys for watching the video today. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. God bless.